How much is Fahim Anwar worth?
Between $1 and $2 million.
Whoa, he's
so
doing very well
potentially 4 times more than Kamar gave him credit for.
Yeah,
doing very well for himself.
You forgot the most important part, or the best part of Fahim Anwar, which was when they talked about that fighting game sport in, and I say sport loosely.
Oh, Calcio
in Florence. Yeah,
Calcio Florentino.
Gang beatings.
that shit is bonkers, man. I assume you both watched that Netflix doc.
Mm-hmm.
That it's crazy. Like these guys, besides that Netflix, which potentially could have never gotten made. These guys do this for the glory of their 600 person town.
They're not making millions.
They're not making anything. They go back to working in a fucking garage when it's done. The only difference is they have broken bones now.
I did omit that. And that deserves respect.
You omitted it on purpose?
No, I'm just copying that.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that. But Joe is not a fan of it.
Well,
Very dangerous.
Well, that's because now he's become such a fan of European football.
It
it
is
is
dangerous. They pull up that clip and you can see this guy's fighting this guy, and this guy just comes out of nowhere and fucking smokes him, and this guy's just like, oh, okay, cool, man, thanks.
It's a great spectator sport.
Oh, it's amazing.
Is a good spectator.
Not only is it amazing, but that doc really gives it like a Warriors type quality because you're building up each team, and then
also it's tough to show up in a city and make a documentary where you're like, look at these fucking idiots.
Well, I don't think you would want to do that with
No,
these
of course
guys.
not.
I think it's
The glory of the game.
I mean, there is no more glory than this game.
There's not a lot of game to it though, if we're being very real.
Ball's just, it's over there.
Yeah. Oh, that's right, we're doing this.
Yeah, I'm not even sure when the ball comes into play, actually, because most of the time it looks like they're just street fighting.
Yeah, it's like it's like if you took soccer at its loosest rules and added a shitload of MMA to the mix.
It's the progression from soccer to rugby to Australian football to
Aussie rules,
whatever this is.
Go ahead, Kamar. Can we get a name and a number, please?
1827, Kristin Beck. Would have thought that Christmas came for Simon.
Well, I'll tell you this much before we even get into this episode. The first
hour?
No. The first half hour, let's say.
I think it was an hour, but
this might as well have been Sam Tripoli back on the program. Is it she?
Yeah, she is correct.
She did it in a much calmer tone, which allowed Joe to sit there and listen, I guess. But that she didn't talk about Tataria and the mud floods, but had that come up, this was Sam Tripoli.
I wonder if she listens or has been a guest on.
I've never heard her on, but I mean, I'm 100% positive.
Tataria and the mud floods.
You don't know about Tataria and the mud floods, Matt?
I don't care.
Oh, no, it's so good. It's so good. It's that forgotten history, but much more recently. It all brings Russia and the Ukraine full circle, man.
I always go back to this ancient civilization thing. It's like, let's say there was 10 civilizations that were way more advanced than we are, but we have no real, there's no solid, other than the pyramids, there's no real proof. You know what I mean? As intangible, we
didn't find a space car. We didn't find...
Sure. I mean, again, there's nothing that we could...
mean.
Yeah, I mean, there's
because
nothing...
those things just degrade in time.
Yeah, whereas a stone structure,
right,
could potentially last long enough.
Which is probably why they did it. Anyways, go on.
Sure, but even then, again, let's say there was 3 more 5 million years before them, there would be absolutely no remnants of that at all, potentially, right? It could be, even if there was a stone structure, it could be buried so far under anything, whatever.
Absolutely.
My point is if there's nothing for us to find, I'm not saying we shouldn't look for it, but I'm just saying until we find that definitive, I just, I don't care. That's how I look at it. I'm not saying...
If they keep finding stones, you're not interested. But if they can come across a...
iPhone.
What...
Not an iPhone.
What would pique your interest?
Well, no, because the stone thing... again, if they were moving... let's say they were moving stones with sound. Because that is actually an interesting...
Very interesting.
An interesting topic, right? I'm not against that. If they figured out some way... Let's say you had 200,000 people in the same place, right? And you all hit some weird frequency, maybe, I'm just saying, I'm trying to play Diablo Avocado for your sake here. Maybe if it's all directed somewhere, you could move a stone.
I think the like physics. Let's take physics, okay? Physics, there's some way they can explain sound being able to make something weightless. There's some equation out there that makes that make sense. And if they were to write that equation, 50% of the population would agree. But it's, who cares what they say? Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. I would love to tell you that I do.
They don't. Even if they wrote that equation that said that was possible, like if we can't see it with our own eyes, are you even going to believe it anyways, you know?
Well, yeah, I'd have to see it. Yeah. I mean, if you just tell, but again, Simon, if I show up at your house and go, I can move stones with sound, you, of course, would go, I'm going to have to see that, Matt.
But we do that all the time. Like they say that the fucking moon is 250 million miles. Okay. You know what I'm saying? There's no proof of that either.
Well, I mean, you don't believe the proof of it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm just saying, if people have been to the moon, then you could technically clock your trip there and back, right? So you could have at least a rough estimate within a couple, at least 1,000 kilometers, correct? Now, again, this goes again. If you don't think anyone's been to the moon, of course.
Let me give you a better example then.
Okay.
There are equations that tell them about black holes and about
this works, okay? Yeah.
Gravity or this or that.
Well, gravity, hold on.
No, that's a great example because Kristin was like, it's just a theory. Joe tries to explain gravity and realizes he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Because none of us know what we're talking about. All I'm saying...
What do you mean? Hold on.
I'm not saying that there's not a force that's holding us, that there's something going on. We just accept whatever it is.
A virgin, no less.
A virgin.
Isaac Newton died a virgin. That comes up on my Twitter all the time.
Who cares? So that's what bothers you? So
I mean, he's probably way smarter because he's not wasting his time chasing skirts.
No less.
No less. Okay.
I was adding to what you were saying.
Yeah. I mean, sure.
What were you saying, though?
What was I saying? Oh, I was saying black holes and things like that. We just accept that as fact because somebody has said this is the equation that proves that.
Well, hold on.
It's all fucking magic.
Wait. What happened was this. Einstein theorized black holes.
Theory, again.
Yes. Then recently they have a photo of a black hole. And they can measure like the density of the space around it. Isn't that how that works? I mean, again, this goes back to Lex saying dumb people are trying to prove things that they absolutely shouldn't be talking about at all. So that's all of us.
I am absolutely that person.
There we go.
I thought it was very interesting how they were talking about the tides, and Kristin said, well, why don't the Great Lakes have tides?
They do.
They do?
They do have tides, yeah.
Yes, that's why when she said it, I was like, unfortunately, this makes no sense.
I don't think Kristin does a lot of research, but I think Kristin knows a lot.
I think she knows a lot the same way I know a lot, which is nothing. I also have a lot of random facts in my head, but if you ask me to prove any of them, like...
Come on, here's the thing.
Kristin would believe in weighing the soul. That it weighs, you know what I mean? And
grams,
even when you bring that up and you can trace that back to its
bullshit origins.
Fraudulent origin.
Exactly.
Or that was somebody trying to discredit that doctor, Matt. Like, who fucking knows?
Sure. But I'm just,
the same way I thought that I never did acid because I thought I was going to have a fucking flashback. That was just somebody, trying to keep kids away from doing drugs.
I thought one of the things she said was interesting is if you look at archetypes of tribes, and there's always like a medicine man or the priest or the spiritual sort of
probably the best bullshitter in the whole. I don't really want to go hunting. I'm
it was
a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo.
Let me rub this on your back before you go, though.
It was the smartest person in the tribe. Because they were like, okay, how am I going to get all these people to do what I want?
Sure. Or the best bullshitter.
I'm going to tell them that I have a communication with God.
But it's usually not the chief. There'd be a chief who would have, as part of his council, a shaman or a medicine man.
That's how it was with the knights, too. Like, the king always had a Merlin or whatever.
What is that?
that was the person
You
who
need
knew
some
how to do
batshit lunatic
magic.
in the
It's
basement.
just to help
Yeah.
convince people.
Or maybe that's like always a remnant of a past civilization. You know what I mean? Like that
Leave a
person,
lizard person behind.
That person lasts to be able to pass along the knowledge.
Because we don't have that sort of thing in our leadership structures now. There's no cabinet of voodoo or the
it's
secretary of mumbo jumbo.
The Pope, I guess, would be the closest.
Dude, I'm going to fucking...
For them, but just in each sort of... I guess it's the top scientist.
Did you know that Disney World
Yeah.
is its own
Jurisdiction.
city?
Yeah.
Just like
City.
Vatican City. It has its own laws and its own...
I said its own jurisdiction.
That's why would the government ever grant
money.
Disneyland?
Money.
Well, no, it was because Walt Disney actually
Money,
worked
money,
for the
money,
government. But
money.
That's
Kristin also said the importance of, I believe she called it a hoka or the sacred clown. Like the importance of a voice to question stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that is imperative for society to have that. You can't just have this, everyone just fall in line and agree.
and you feel like that's the comedian now?
I don't like it when comedians say that, but if you watch like George Carlin, it feels very much like that. And especially the examples of George Carlin, watching him 20 years ago, and the stuff is pertinent today. Just showing up a mirror to society and saying it, and people laughing like it's.
The only problem is then a guy who's nowhere near George Carlin is like, yeah, I'm a comedian. I'm the...
Yeah, it's worse. It's the grossest. On the other end, Bill Hicks was up there, and that sort of, is he preaching? Is he saying with the word?
I'm just saying it feels like those are few and far between now.
We've lost our way. Just like in music has lost its way, sort of social messages. Like it's a good message and a good song.
Well, because once the machine gets his claws in it, it's over. Like rap was rap to me was the last music like that. That wasn't, was.
Exposing what society is. I mean, Kendrick's new album sort of is still doing it, but
I'm just saying it's few and far between. Whereas like rap in the early days was all just like street tales.
But
you know
the
what I mean?
Clash was thinking about that. Rage Against the Machine was thinking about that. I don't know what happened to them.
But I'm just saying rock got bought out long before hip hop, of course, right? And then once hip hop got bought out in like the 2000s, that was game over.
I don't think we realize how much we're being run by a technocracy and not a democracy. The social media companies are so influential now, but we still in our heads think, well, they exist, but we could rein them in at any time if we had to.
No, but I think we do this dumb thing where, so you think before social media companies, we were just a democracy and that was it?
Oh, no, we started to get run by Microsoft. Like everyone was on Windows. It's been a slow indoctrination.
Oil companies ran the world for like 30 years.
Yeah, but I don't think that they could influence through like commercials or that, but they couldn't get
Or keeping you on oil, but it wasn't the same. They didn't have this instantaneous, like TV was one thing, but it didn't have this exponential reach.
Especially when it used to
the
shut off at
internet
midnight.
has. Sure.
Yeah,
even with movies, all of that stuff, like it wasn't even close. It's so quick now. That's what makes these companies so powerful. Is that this guy can have an idea and tomorrow it's propagated, you know?
My point was simply there's always been some massive corporation control, like puppeteering.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
Since the beginning of fucking...
What he's
at least
saying,
they
though,
made stuff.
it wasn't techno. It didn't have the tech in front of it.
Yeah, but Kamar, at the same time, like the most powerful company in the world, you could argue, is Apple, and they do make stuff.
Yeah,
and
that's all right.
and in a way, they are the gatekeeper of all these other fucking idiots.
Because that's how you get Google.
Well, I'm just saying is like we learned from that Uber thing that Apple owns the pond. Doesn't matter if you're a big fish. That's great. Apple can throw you out of the pond, and then you aren't a fish. You're just dead.
Samsung is bigger than Apple, I think.
Okay, but Apple... No. Apple's one of the biggest
App
companies in the
Store,
world.
It's, no.
Samsung sells more phones. Apple is a much larger
TVs
company.
And
Yeah, but
all that other stuff.
Apple's worth like way more than...
Apparently, if I'm to believe this Uber thing at all...
Yeah.
If you are dropped by the App Store, you cannot make it. So that tells you that Samsung's share of the market is not enough.
No. Listen, again, so this is my point, is like Apple is, they are a tech company. They are the biggest tech company.
Yeah.
And they are, in a way, and I'm not saying they're great because they have fucking suicide nets all over all their factories. I'm not saying they're a great company. I'm just saying, as far as all these other tech companies are concerned, at least they're somewhat looking out for.
Yeah, they're not the same as.
I get it.
And that's why
I get it as like Meta or.
Listen to Lex.
Oh, I know.
Because he really clarifies it to. Especially you, Matt, to your liking, because he's not knocking video games. He's not knocking these online platforms where people get together and talk to each other, which is all the best parts about the internet. The problem is...
But those are also all the worst parts of the internet simultaneously.
Yeah, but fine, that's because the person, is making it that way. It's not being run by bots. It's not being run by algorithms.
Sure.
Those are the problems. That's what's changed since whatever year it was, 2010.
Yeah.
That's been the difference, is these companies have gotten involved and they've ruined it for everybody.
Yeah, but I keep saying this is like, we act like we're like, well, what am I going to do? Not go on Facebook? Yeah, that's...
No, and again, this guy explains it more clearly than I would, but I think I tried to... Like with my son, for example, I know that he spends too much time playing video games, for example.
Okay.
But a lot of his friends play video games. So what am I going to do? I'm going to ban him from playing video games so then he can't hang out with his friends. Like, it's a double-edged sword, Mm-hmm. I just think that's the same problem a lot of parents will fall into. You're like, what am I going to do? Stop my kid from going on Instagram? That's where all his friends are, And that's where all their friends are. They're all doing the same thing. This guy makes a really good point on Lex's podcast that like Instagram, TikTok, all of these things you should not, under no circumstances, be allowed to go on until you're 16 years old.
I would be fine with
or
that. Or
make an arbitrary age, 18 years old. That seems a little too much.
Does
But at least 16, he's like the 11 to 15, that's where you're getting the most suicides. They're the most impressionable. Like, just don't allow that. They don't allow it in some other countries.
I think you have more
I'd be fine
people
with
too
that.
growing up and just I don't care for that. Whereas when you get into that younger personal age, everyone just gets bitten by it.
Yeah.
Well, the problem too is like they all just want to be influencers now, and that's not a real job. I'm not saying there aren't people that make a ton of money doing that. What I'm saying is there aren't enough of those positions. It's just like being an actor or I'm not saying don't try. Like, if you really want to be an influencer, I'm just saying you don't bring a lot to the table.
No, and it's such a small minority of the population. Yes, of course, those people exist, Matt. They're outliers.
Yeah.
And these companies build them up and show them constantly to get these kids to think that they can do the same thing. This is like advertising at its worst. It's built into
Well, this is kind of
it's horrible. And
this is my like Nelk Boys issue. Not just the Nelk Boys, by the way. Like a lot of these influencers, a lot of these phase fucking dickheads, is they know their audience is young and they peddle gambling. Like, again, I gamble. Okay, I have no problem with someone gambling. If you're of age and you have the means and you want to do it for entertainment, I think a lot of people have gambling problems. Like, I know that sometimes I'm like, I know this. I never gamble past my means. So, like, I would never go into Hawk to gamble. I don't do that sort of shit. I know a lot of people that do. But I would never, like, if I knew my audience was a certain age, you would never hear me talk about gambling. You would never see live gambling. Like, I don't know.
I would.
I know you would.
Oh, yeah. How much space junk is up there? They don't know. And there could only be more.
Well, I would imagine, because there's not much room up there, that they've littered it with like so much shit that.
And it'd be great if it turns into like a shade to stop global warming. Just happenstance of.
You think that's what global warming is about? We're just getting too much sun?
I think global warming is the sun comes in and heats up in the atmosphere. Can't escape.
I'm not sure what global
exactly. We just found it.
I think it was too much sun.
That's
very interesting. Then when you start talking about, it, you go, "Oh, I don't actually know what it is."
Remember the ozone layer?
I believe it's emissions caught in the atmosphere.
I know. That was my band name. Remember?
The CFCs. That was the CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons.
Was it CFCs? Was that what they were called?
They banned CFCs
In the 90s?
and saved the ozone.
Remember when we weren't allowed to use spray cans
Yeah.
for a
Because of
while?
CFCs, yeah.
That was a real bummer. We had to use those pumps for a while. Those didn't work at all.
Speaking
What
of
a
bummers,
shit world.
I was disappointed. She was talking about how if you're nice to water, there's like a better reaction to it, which would be because we are 70% water.
Yeah.
And if you drained all the water out of a human being, it'd be
I thought we were 90% water.
even better.
Yeah, we're
Even-
80% ocean.
Even better,
Yeah.
even better for us understanding water. Then they showed how the sound made water move, and obviously there's something with the sound, and we dance like we move the water around. And it's inescapable, especially for 90% water.
Inescapable.
It's undeniable.
So you're saying the same frequency that makes the water move in that zigzag pattern just makes, because we're filled with water. So what you're saying is, just like in Ghostbusters 2, like when the goo gets on something and the music
100%.
plays, like it just has to.
100%.
Shouldn't we be very much affected by the tides then if we're so much water?
Like we sway.
But we are, though.
no,
if you talk
not
to...
sway,
heavy.
but if the moon, like that should really affect us. That should be
should,
true.
should.
But
All
Simon-
that cosmology shit.
Yeah, I was
that
just going to
Mary
say, if you
does-
talk to Mary,
No,
she'd be like,
that-
for sure.
That really does make sense. If the tides are real and the moon does provide the tides,
Yeah.
if that is a fact,
Yeah.
and we are made up of water, we should be affected the same way.
I couldn't
That's
agree
why
more.
Not
Mary's always like
To a-
Mercury's in Gatorade
to a
or
very
whatever the fuck.
smaller degree, obviously, but the same way. Well, who knows, man?
We must. We must. If it affects water and we're made of water, I don't
We
know what
must.
the degree
It
is.
must.
I don't know if I'm in a better mood when the moon's further away, or it's more of a. I don't know.
I want to
But it
go
must.
back to that moving the stones with because we got.
Yo,
off
no,
track.
we're getting there
Oh,
right
we're
here.
getting there, okay.
Because then she went into that. There's she believes in Bigfoot and that the
Well, let's
gonna
talk about that for a bit.
I was going to say, Simon, like, in a way...
Oh, it was an amazing
You have
episode,
to give this episode, like, almost a
Yeah, I'm gonna
4.7
go back.
or something,
I'm gonna
because
go back and change my.
this chick ticked every Simon box. It's almost like she had coffee with you, flew to Austin.
But then we had to talk about serious stuff, and I didn't care for that. Not because, just because.
But I would at least
want
say,
fun.
like, the first half of this episode for you had to be a 5.
It was great. Like I
Joe
said,
was a
it,
bit of a problem,
It was
I
like
thought.
having Sam Tripoli back on. Well, because Joe, you know what? Joe's a real problem.
he was a bit of a wet blanket. on
If
this
Joe
one.
has a
Well, hold
smart
on, he's
person
gotta
on, then he
cack-ass some of
plays
this stuff.
devil's
have
advocate the
to,
other
okay.
way, and then he plays it this way. Like he just keeps flip flopping around like a tuna caught in the boat, you know.
Well, he's trying not to be rife with controversy when someone comes on. It's like, there's giants.
And then he,
Well,
then
we need
there
controversy, so that's a
definitely
problem.
were giants. Like it's
Okay,
stupid to
okay,
think there
so
weren't giants.
If there were giants, maybe that. Because one of the other things of the construction, have you ever seen them cut marble?
yeah,
Yeah.
Like they just put one split in the top and the whole thing comes off. So maybe they have a technique where they just did that and then big guys moved it, or they use what I was thinking about the frequency is if there's some way to shake the atoms that their mass changes, right? Because if I rip off a piece of material off something, it doesn't fall apart. Like every atom's not stacked on each other, but there could be a way to loosen them up that they're not as heavy.
yeah,
But
to
even
make
then, if
something
you-
more malleable,
if
like
you-
a stone.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that would explain a lot of that
Possible.
puzzle piece.
But think about it this way.
stonework.
If you could lay gravel for however long you need to move this massive stone, couldn't you technically just vibrate it enough?
Elevate it.
Not even to elevate it. Like, if you think about the way, like, if you have enough gravel under, you have a layer of gravel under a massive stone, if you can vibrate it enough and put some inertia behind it, couldn't you, in theory, just move it along this gravel?
I mean, again, I'm not a scientist. I have no fucking idea. But I can tell you this much, Matt. If when I was growing up, the going thing was they have a machine or whatever that can levitate a stone to move it, that's what I would believe.
Yeah, okay,
It's
but
just-
the point
But
is,
I would
but
believe
wait.
100,000 people all chanting one thing could do that.
Well, see, that's tougher to believe. But even then,
That's
Simon,
never happened
my
in
point
our
is,
lifetime.
you want the book to say, we have no proof of this whatsoever, but we're going to tell you as a child that a machine we've never seen or found moved these stones. That's what you want.
No. I'm just saying
You would have believed whatever.
Whatever. If they had told me the world was flat and that was the going thing, that's what I would believe. Like, I have no other basis to...
If they had told you that one black guy named Daquan made the pyramids, you would have been like, yep.
I mean, if that was what
That's
we
the going
thought,
story.
If Biff made the pyramids and he did it all with his brain, like, who am I to say differently? If that was... And it would have been so easy... When they built America, when they made a new country, how easy is it for them to be like, I don't like any of the stuff they said over there across the ocean? You know what I mean? We're going with different history. That's what you would do if you were the king of this new place.
But so now everyone agrees with their new history? I'm just curious. How does that work?
Well, they mention it later on, but we do not know what China knows.
You just start teaching it.
Well, we don't know what's in the Vatican.
Oh, I know it's in the Vatican. I've been there.
Yeah, but in those
in
locked
the
libraries
yeah,
that you have to get like special fucking...
Well, I think it's pretty clear that shit is from like the a lot of it is from the Library of Alexandria, because I don't think it actually burnt like they say. It was probably
It was sacked.
destroyed, and everything of consequence was taken by the Catholics.
Because of access and language, none of us could say what China tells what was 3,000 years ago up until now. Even the building of the wall. I mean, that seems like a less of an amazing thing than the pyramids, but it's still one of the great wonders of the world.
It's crazy.
But you sort of see like, okay, you just have a bunch of people carrying stones and building this wall.
It's not so high that it seems unreasonable.
That it seems unreasonable to do just with the simplest of tools. But who knows? And
who knows what?
The world has one history.
Yeah.
And now civilizations have different histories.
Yeah.
Just the same way you have different religions. And that's where the disconnect is. Like, we all have to be on the same page.
Yeah, but I mean, to say there's a disconnect, like, again, you go to North Korea, there's a totally different history there.
Yeah. Because there's a little tiny king who's
I'm just saying is like...
As far as history, it's not even 100 years.
Yeah, I get it. But my point is still, if you ask them, they probably have 1,000 years worth of history written down that's all bullshit, right?
Well, yeah, he would probably change... They wouldn't have the same history China would, because
of course not.
They don't believe all the same things. And certainly not the same history that Japan would have, because they hate each other, right?
But there have been people in these places for thousands of years coinciding that there is information, scripture, that isn't even in English.
Well, of course, English isn't old enough.
That we'll just never know unless we were all to sit down and say, well, what do you have? Let's compare notes to what you think happened at this time.
Yeah, and I think even if you did that, there's so much that's been lost to history.
Been destroyed.
But even then, though, there's too much religion for anyone to agree, ever.
Well, he's saying if you took all of that out of it, and best case scenario,
just
everybody meets in the middle with all their information.
My point, though, is like you have to get scholars from all different walks of life who all have some.
Oh, it's never gonna. It's never gonna happen.
No,
never gonna happen. But this is the roadblock.
Well,
there's many roadblocks,
and just like our government, or ours in Canada, the government in the United States is actively trying to like deceive its own people and keep things away. So is every other government in every other country. So these are just, you know what I'm saying? It's just tiny little microcosms happening all over the place. You're never going to get to the bottom.
Do you think these powers would be happier if Sam Tripoli didn't exist? Even Joe Rogan, who's now not even close to conspiracy theory, would just shut the fuck up?
I mean, probably make their life easier.
Have fun.
I think it's better for them.
Nothing's getting exposed.
But you know how Kristin was talking about like Göbekli Tepe and places like this? They'll find this new whatever, and it gets shut down. You'll never they'll never do an unearthing of it. The country just shuts down any scientists coming in to look at it.
He wouldn't even give a shot to the subways underneath the pyramids, which she kept trying to go back to talk about that, but he didn't even want to entertain it.
Did she mean like subways, like trains underneath the pyramids?
I think
I've never
like
heard of
tunnels.
that before. I'm sure there are tunnels underneath the pyramids.
And who knows what went in them.
But even then, say tunnels. Why would you say subway?
I think she thinks there were trains.
I've never heard that before, that there were trains.
And I'm
that
sure
sounds
Joe had
cool,
it.
Man.
No entertaining it whatsoever. Again, this is where Joe dropped the ball.
I mean, subway's a weird one. Like, let's say they built a cart down there. So so it has 4 wheels, and they're just lugging stone out. Is that
Well, no, she must have been insinuating some sort of electricity, which, I mean, we know that they had that.
Well, they had batteries, right?
That battery,
Or
the
it could
Egyptian
be
battery.
It could
or
be even like a
whatever it is.
vacuum thing. The like air pressure pushes
Interesting.
something
How is Elon doing his new tunnel?
with a boring machine.
He's not
No.
doing fucking
To
tunnels.
what's the theory to keep that train moving? It's probably just a copy of an ancient Egyptian.
There's no train. You don't
like-
know? You don't know how the tunnel works?
There's no train. What do you mean? There's no.
The
train?
cars just
Dude,
grip
it's a
into it.
Tesla that you hook up to this fucking thing. So you like drive your Tesla onto this thing, and then it drives the Tesla along the track. There's no train. You're in your car the whole time.
Okay, fine. It has a there's something that's going through the tunnel that's taking you through. It
your own
operates
car.
on some sort of. Yeah, but the tires aren't moving, right?
No.
It's
No, the tires are
it's
moving.
magnets, or it's so you're just driving in the tunnel.
Yeah, it's not all it's cracked up to be. What I was thinking more is like
It's terrible. You haven't seen the video of it?
No.
Dude, it's shaky like a roller coaster. It's like
pretty ordinary. But you know, in the old movies, they'd have that system where you'd take a canister and put it in this like
Yeah,
like
the
that.
pneumatic.
the pneumatic tubes. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Well, they had that
Why
at
not
old
that on a-
office buildings
on a
and
big
stuff.
scale though for transportation. If you had pneumatic tubes, you just hop it.
I mean, I'm not a scientist, so I don't know the logistics of having giant pneumatic tubes. But
I love
I'm
the
with
Kamars.
you.
I love the Kamars though. He's like, they're like, first we're gonna build this pyramid with stone, then pneumatic tubes to move us all around. I just don't get there. I don't know.
Well, because the pyramid.
And
is-
why would you believe there's a subway under there?
Kristin.
the pyramid, the Great Pyramids of Giza, the 3 of them there.
Yes,
I
yes.
don't think they had anything to do with like people going into them. I think they were like generators of some sort. They were right beside the water, and it was those
they
were
were
like
beacons.
3. I think they were 3 massive batteries that powered, the great city of Egypt.
I just think they were beacons. You could see them from literally like miles away.
Well, I mean, it could be both things. Anyways, the point is they weren't built to like house lots of people or to hold ceremonies. There were other places that they built to do those things, but not the pyramids.
She was adamant that history is written by the victors, which we've discussed many times.
I've been talking about that forever.
One of the points she made that isn't far-fetched is what influence the captains of industry had. Like in the 19th century, the richest men in the world, there's no one in your way. There's nothing stopping you from whatever curriculum you want to put in.
Well, you are building a country.
It's society.
It's like you're raising a child, and you're deciding to do it any way you want.
And
Yeah, but
so-
you say that's the government's role was to not allow them to do that.
But these guys are way more powerful than the government.
Yes, I realize that, but that's the
And
They put the government in to make people feel like they had a shot.
there's
from
no
the
fucking
start.
video cameras. There's no fucking surveillance. Just what you could get away.
hey, that guy's writing it down. Kill him.
And they had all the money. Like
Yeah.
way more money maybe than people have today. The
Only-
Rockefellers.
only because they had
reverse.
an inordinate share compared to everybody
exactly.
else. Yeah.
It's some sort of,
I don't know. I'm not even sure
Inordinate.
that's a word.
What the weird thing though is like I have nothing to base this off of other than just a feeling. It feels to me like those guys were just like you said, titans of industry. It feels like the nefarious shit was their kids and their grandkids.
I don't think anyone looks into it though. It does.
No, you're probably
stopped
right.
Before going that far back to see what.
According to the
happened.
theories, Matt, those guys, the first Rockefellers or the first, you know what I mean, Rothschilds,
Yes,
they
the
were
yes
they were once removed from
royalty.
something in England, so it wasn't a jump for them to become evil. They were, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I
I'm
don't
just
think
saying,
it
if you take,
started, I don't think they started clean here and then their kids ruined everything.
I'm just saying if you take like a Henry Ford, I'll just use him as a random example.
Yeah,
I don't know what his
perfect.
kids
and
or
I say
grandkids are like.
he's smaller on the rung of these rich guys.
Sure, but like, hear me out. That could be a guy who is just like, I just want to make as many cars as I fucking can, builds this massive industry, and then his kids and grandkids are total fuck ups and evil shits. And
Yeah, or you find out that Henry Ford's father was the biggest paper manufacturer in Britain. You
Well,
know
no,
what I mean?
I forget how it goes, but with
I'm
Ford,
just making that up.
I get it.
if Ford,
But it might be true.
They were ready to build the cars, but they had to build the roads before the cars because there's nowhere they could go.
So they
no,
needed
they had
the
to
president,
They had to convince
whoever
the.
Eisenhower.
Yeah, I was gonna say. And they convinced him to build the roads military grade.
And so what it
Interesting.
All the highway system, you can land any military plane on. U.S. highways. They're built so that any plane can land on.
Isn't that a great way to take over your own country, eh?
Well, don't let the Russians know that, though.
I'm just telling you, that's a fact.
It's true. They could just land anywhere they want.
They have no planes. But just, I would love a deep dive into, because especially when people bemoan institutional racism and all that, that's where you got to go. That's the epicenter of everything we have now. And who knows what backroom deals they made or what intentions they had, if it was all altruistic or all nefarious.
Well, remember when I was saying a little while ago, like, you think about Manson, okay? And then we find out about the book Chaos and how wrong we were about Charlie Manson.
So there was a moment where Charlie Manson was one thing, and now we have way more information, and it's another thing. He's a government mistake.
But he was a cultural moment in time that actually changed things based on a total falsehood. Like, how many times did that happen? How many people?
Countless.
How many people do we hold in such high regard that, like, it changes the way we look at things, that we find out now that was all just theater? That's scary, man. That happens all the time.
And that's why you need the sacred clowns. That's why you need skeptical people like Kristin Beck to speak the truth. Very interested in that Kristin believes the aliens are in the ocean. Well, we've talked about it many times. We do not know what's down there.
We do not know what's down there.
When she said that, I was like, oh my God, this is literally, I was like, this chick is Simon's wet dream.
But we do not know what's down there.
You don't know what's there. And Joe doesn't even want to entertain that idea.
No, why?
Because he's afraid of sharks.
No, the whole, listen, like, you gotta, we live in a weird place. There is no doubt about that. Like, just...
Maybe the weirdest place in the universe.
The idea of us is so insane. Just nothing should be off the table. Based on the fact that we, right now, like this, we don't understand any of it.
Well, in our world, nothing's off the table. But you get to family dinner and nothing's on the table.
Except turkey.
No one wants to listen.
You don't like your family meals very much, eh?
Well, it's Kamar's at his family meal talking about the trucker rally. I'm
an outsider. One problem with these mysteries is, as an individual, you have an outcome you're hoping for.
Yeah.
And that's to solve the mystery bias, I call it. But like, want it to be aliens, this or that, the other. And I don't know how you absolve yourself of that.
I'll tell you how.
Thank you.
The outcome you should be looking for is just, it's not the way they're saying. Then you don't have to look for, you know what I mean?
Don't know what it is, but it's not
I don't know what it is, but this doesn't seem right.
Mm-hmm. That's the easiest
Or this
way.
seems too convenient. Or this seems too easy.
Because it's like, the more you hope it's aliens, the more next Thursday you're going to see an alien.
This is what I mean. I don't know what the fuck it is. It's something.
I'll tell you a weird thing. When I went up for the... my family's reunion, I bought a National Enquirer.
Okay.
It was full of factual news.
Really? Like what, Kamar?
I was just about to say,
just
hold
everything.
on.
Just Johnny Depp. Nothing like too steamy, but it was all factual stuff that you're like. But the National Enquirer used to be
Bigfoot marries woman in
videos
Wisconsin.
from Mars. It's the most far-fetched shit. And look back, and it might not be as far-fetched as you think. But it just got... It was like maybe the CIA's way of, here's the truth, but no one's going to believe it because it's put aside 15 pictures of...
it was the CIA's way
Michael
of saying,
Jackson's...
here's the truth.
I mean, listen, that is a conspiracy theory that's out there. That was like that's how they were telling you things without having to take any responsibility.
Go up and pick up an
credibility.
Enquirer. It'll be pretty much gossipy, but it'll all be true. I'm telling you.
I do like that idea, Simon, that they could, like, in 50 years be like, what are you talking about? We've been transparent the entire time.
Yeah.
And we the public, would be like, what are you talking about? And they'd be like, we have this paper called the National... We've been releasing it for like 100 years.
That's
not
from
far-fetched.
Men in Black, actually. Where
Oh, is
he
it?
first gets let in. Yeah, they have a whole bit about that.
Yeah, it's all known, but no one believes it because it's so far-fetched.
I wasn't making it up.
Oh,
I
you,
was
him.
just- No, he had heard that somewhere too.
They talked about the Abyss, and is it
The
me?
movie, The
Dude, they
Abyss?
keep bringing up Event Horizon. I brought that up like 3 weeks ago, and every week it's been brought up.
Well,
moment.
in all fairness, the paper folding and the pencil,
Yeah.
there's a lot of talk right now with Doctor Strange and that other movie Here, There, Everywhere, All at Once. Like, there's a lot of
Multiverse,
universe
black hole
talk
shit.
right
Just
now.
seems to be in the zeitgeist.
That's a pretty prominent scene about that.
But would you guys say you are bothered by tactical misrepresentations in movies?
No.
They got in like no SEALs would ever do that, and it seems like it's only the SEALs that are upset that they, except for our man Jack Carr, who's everything's by the book. This is how it would be done. Even Kristin was like, SEALs would never do that.
I wouldn't know the difference. Like,
Exactly.
I don't have enough expertise in that's not true. If they did like an alien movie and they were putting in doctors who actually said other things, I would be bummed about it.
But that's the point Kamar made in that Jack Carr episode, was like, dude, you're literally making this movie for like the most niche audience ever, because no one else
actually gonna care.
no one else gives a shit. Yeah, like
You
the
didn't
rest.
even take his safety off, or whatever the detail is.
Well, no, but again, Sicario, for example, that scene is so cool because how intense it is. And part of the intensity is like how real it is. They were
Yeah, I get it, but it's
holding
also
their fingers on the trigger in the right way, you know?
sure. But I mean, again, that scene is just I think the intensity is built through.
Yeah, it's true. I didn't know the difference. I only know that because somebody told me that. I don't think it makes a difference.
But
You're
Joe like bemoans, like, why did they do that? I mean, it's not real. Like, I don't care. I don't.
Why
fucking
did he
care.
fight Goodrich and not Big Daddy Kane? Or
But I
whatever
explained
the
that
fuck
too.
it
Like
was?
Joe forgets, dude. You have a podcast where you're constantly like, "Can I even play this music?" They might have gone to Big Daddy Goodrich,
That's
and
my
he
theory.
might have been like, "I don't want any
I don't
part
wanna
of
be
this."
in it.
I
fuck-"
don't think they can. That's like a moment in time. It happened. They're not.
No, but it's
No,
someone's
use my
likeness.
I'll sue the shit out of you.
Or he was like, "If you want to use my likeness, it'll be $50,000." And they were like,
He
"We'll
was
just
like,
call
make him a Russian.
Yeah, make him a white Russian. Fuck this guy."
That seems like
then
the
that
Eric
should be
Gilbey's
then
razor.
that should be on Big Daddy Goodrich.
But again, that's what I'm saying.
Or
is Joe,
Jamie should find that.
I'm just
This
saying,
is
Joe
what I
always
mean.
shits on Hollywood, and it's like, listen, Hollywood sometimes is handcuffed by people, places, and things, right? Like, there's sometimes where they like, yeah, we would love to shoot on scene, but it's going to cost us
Jamie should
10x
get
the
to
money.
the fucking bottom of why that happened, so we can put that puppy to rest.
Yeah.
Imagine if it ended up Big Daddy Goodrich was the dude sitting on the edge of the bed.
Oh, the big dick. The big dick meme.
By the way, have you seen that knockout that he's talking about with Big Daddy Goodrich?
No.
It is. I'll pull it up right now. It's easily, everyone Google it. It's Big Daddy Goodrich UFC. It's the craziest 10-second knockout maybe in UFC history.
Well, I don't know if you've ever watched any of like the old UFCs there when what's his name used to fight, the big black guy there, who Joe, he slams Nogueira.
Fred Webb. No. Oh, what am I?
Oh,
Bob Sapp.
Bob Sapp.
Sapp. There are some of those fights that are so ridiculous.
I know.
like-
Why are there? That's what I said before. Why
Yeah.
are there more of those?
No, because they were ridiculous.
I know, but there should be someone with enough money.
You just want to see. I see what
Ridiculousness,
you're saying.
yeah.
But you can watch bare knuckle boxing now. You want to see?
Nah, that's just brutal.
You just want to see something like
Freak show.
unfair.
Yeah, the bare knuckle boxing
Like
is rough.
Minute Bowl.
It's bloody too.
Hey, that happened.
Yep.
Celebrity boxing.
So
Remember
that,
Minute Bowl fought
that's too
who?
much of a freak show. You need people who are good at their discipline, and I guess they all go to the UFC or they're under contract by.
Have you ever seen that YouTube video of it's like she's like a huge woman, 400 pounds. She's a fighter and she's fighting like a grandpa and their son. No. They're these two like weird Aussie guys.
That's too freak show. I want some sort of.
Well, that sounds like it's right up your alley, man. It's a grandpa grandson combo against an old lady.
No, I just want two fighters of different disciplines or whatever.
You want blood sport. That's what you want.
Of course I do. Who would?
The movie Blood Sport.
She made an interesting point about saving the planet. Is that the cleanup can't be worse for the people.
Right. It has to make sense.
Like at some point, it's like this planet doesn't care about us. And I know if things get out of control, this place is going to flood and those people are going to be displaced. But as the living conditions get harder and harder just to save the planet, I think it might be in vain. There's got to be a...
Yeah, we've realized that we know how you feel about it. But Kamar, again, just to say the planet doesn't care about us doesn't matter. Because you can still say that's fine, but if we don't treat it properly, it's going to it's going to evacuate us immediately. Whereas if we change our ways, and that's the funny thing is, like, if we had just changed them to begin with or not been as aggressive, we probably wouldn't be in this boat. But we decided to make everything plastic.
If we hadn't gotten taken over by this oil industrial complex, we probably wouldn't be here right now, because we wouldn't be so dependent on things like plastics, which are killing us.
And all this equipment,
it's really like a fucking full circle of humanity.
And all this equipment would have cost $50,000 to buy. If things were worth, like, everything was just small batches. We don't have this abundance that we suffer from now or benefit from.
But why? That's a weird assumption.
It's a different history without pollution.
You assume that without pollution, the world just comes to a complete halt. Nothing gets done.
Everything is just way smaller scale.
Listen, I totally...
And way more expensive.
But again, Kamar, hold on. Cars alone, we've said it before. They had the electric car ready to go in the 80s. Could have been implemented for the last 40 years.
Yeah.
We could have had electric cars for 40 years, but big oil said, no fucking way. We've got 50 years of oil left, and we're going to use it.
We've gotten better at
still need oil to make the electric car.
At everything except for changing away from gasoline, right? We just say, oh no, that has to stay, and we'll work out everything else around it. No, they could have shifted off that. And it's like, too, they're like, oh, well, they're going to switch all the cars over, but they can never switch the ships and the plane. Why?
And again,
why can you never do that? Like, we do all sorts of crazy ass shit.
Costa Rica runs 90% off wind energy. The Netherlands, tons of wind energy. Japan just started, they have underwater turbines that use the current of the ocean to make energy. Like, we're at a point in technology where we could easily be running a ton of shit off natural energy.
Amsterdam takes their garbage and turns it into energy.
Sure.
We have giant landfills. Like, all I'm saying is I believe that the world fluctuates in temperature, and all of that is true, Kamar. Everything that the right says is true. And at the same time, humans, which were never around before like we are, polluting like this, are absolutely doing something. Like, it's crazy to think everything, there is a reaction to everything, right? Like, there's no free ride. We're not just sitting here fucking, it's like smoking. You know what I mean? You can smoke. Eventually it's going to kill you.
Yeah, it'll catch up with you for
sure. There are no free rides.
Well, I mean, again, too, like the planet has a natural cooling and heating. Like, we don't have any, I mean, there might be, I don't know. I haven't looked into it, but it would also be arrogant for us to just be like, it's just naturally going up right now. We just happen to catch the natural, like, unless there's evidence to back up that we are in, you know what I'm saying? Like, it might.
Well, why does it have to be, maybe it's a random thing. Maybe it has nothing to do.
But I'm just saying the spike is not random, clearly, because normally it goes in like a wave, right? The heating and cooling of the earth, unless there's some sort of element level event.
I mean, just from a logic point of view.
We don't use that here.
Just from a total logic point of view, you put us on the earth and we're doing something.
Yeah.
We're making something.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to do something. We don't know what it is.
Like, how about this? Dumping.
But if the reset is detrimental to us, there's got to be a balance.
But again, like, the reset of getting rid of gasoline only affects these uber rich people that you'll be fine.
Oh, no, we know there's another problem with the batteries, with the Cantanium or whatever it is. Like,
then fucking figure it out the same way they figure out everything else makes them money.
I hope it gets figured out. I just said, if the cure is worse than the disease, what are we doing here?
They don't put any effort in. What I'm telling you, Kamar, is they don't put any effort into trying to change it because these people make a ton of money.
Well, what she brought up, which was super interesting, which again Joe just got over, is she said the Iron Man project, they have these suits. It's not quite flying, but it's like a 1,000-pound suit, but when it's powered, and they have nuclear batteries. Where the fuck are those? And it's just, she's not, I believe she's saying these exist. This isn't something that they are theorizing. But doesn't that sound like a battery that runs for a year? Or maybe
a lifetime?
or more. So obviously the CIA isn't caring about, or the Defense Department isn't caring about the environment because they have stuff.
The military is the biggest polluter.
Biggest polluter.
Well, first of all, Kamar, why would the U.S. government want to give every citizen free energy? Seems like the last thing they'd want to do.
But it's to save the planet.
But the U.S. But hold on, the U.S. government doesn't care about saving the planet. As you just said, they are the number one polluter. I mean, I doubt it. China's got to be the number one polluter.
Does the U.S. Is it the government that charges people for their electricity? Or is
No,
it
but
like
what I'm
it
saying is,
here,
why
where
would
we
the
have-
U.S. government want to give every single person a discount? The U.S. government doesn't want everyone richer, do they? Do they really want all their people a
They're
little bit more
supposed to.
rich?
I think they're supposed to.
supposed. I agree with
Ideally.
that. Yes, ideally, but I don't think that's the way it's worked for the last 50 years. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, I agree. We should all, if free energy is available, we should all have it across the world right now.
Well, she's confirming these things exist. Unless I don't know how much a nuclear battery costs. Maybe it's ridiculous. But ever since I've learned that by splitting one atom, which there are the most of, that you can make this amount of energy, and we're not even close to harnessing that like on a regular basis, whether a cup of water could power this whole country for
How many atoms are you made up of?
trillions.
So many.
Trillions.
You must be so powerful.
I could power the planet for
You
the
must
rest of
be
our
so.
lives.
You're like Captain Marvel.
Well, we all are. But we're having our loosh sucked out.
Oh, don't ever say that to me.
I will never
That's
say
where
that
that dude. A flat Earth used to be my line. It's not my line anymore. My line is now loosh.
Don't steal my loosh.
Don't fucking talk to me about loosh.
But in one breath, she's talking about nuclear batteries, and then she's talking about how she no longer uses toothpaste.
Yeah.
And that the pH in her mouth has gone to a great level. And I wanted Joe to like lean in for a sniff test. Like,
Come here, let me,
Well, but just hold on a sec. If this whole gut biome thing is true, that your body is like a tiny little microcosm with little microorganisms living in it, then that is true. Your mouth would be full of the same way your stomach is. Your mouth would
Yeah.
also be full of.
no,
those
I think
same
it makes
things.
sense, and I think toothpaste is a scam. Like, you should still brush your teeth.
Oh no, you shouldn't brush at all. You shouldn't fuck around at all.
Nah, I think you might want to brush.
I mean, I'm just saying, according to that logic, you should just let all the natural shit do
You
its
guys
own
should
thing.
go look at pre-fluoride, non-brushing.
No, I think you
nations
should
and-
brush. I think toothpaste doesn't do shit. You should
Well,
floss
it
and
tastes
brush.
good. What are you talking
exactly. It's
Exactly.
sugar to make the medicine go down.
Oh, it's sugar? We're actually brushing our teeth with sugar?
But if you like eat a big shawarma and have garlic bread, you're still going to have these things. But I think it's food caught in your teeth, so you just get that out.
yeah,
you don't
gotcha. So maybe you should just floss.
floss and brush.
But stop saying brush.
I think you should brush.
Stop saying brush.
I don't think
Brush
you need,
removes too many of the microorganisms that are there doing their work. You're like, get out of my mouth.
I think the toothpaste does that when it sands them down. So she thinks
They don't even need toothpaste, Kamar. They've been putting fluoride in your water for years.
exactly just brush. She thinks
Just brush.
everyone should vote independent, and then all the parties just collapse, and that's the reset. Like,
I mean, I think it's a good idea.
easily done.
Did you vote the other day, Kamar? Oh, I shouldn't ask that.
It's
Sorry.
an appropriate question to ask, Simon.
It's very inappropriate. Well, I'll tell you. You know what? I don't want to talk about it.
Is it interesting that monkeys sort of have the same percentage of alcoholics in them as people,
No, it makes perfect sense.
but the monkeys that get the drunk most are the monkeys love them? Like, it's just the weirdest.
Is it true that like they were saying a lot of things in this episode, so it was kind of hard to really nail down? But the monkeys, some like their drinks neat.
Yeah.
Come on, really?
Have you seen
Don't
the
you
video?
think the monkey? What they're like
They're hammered.
asking the bartender?
No, they were just running.
No,
to
but
the
you can see,
resort,
they
like, drinks.
they
everywhere.
run and grab the drinks, but you can see some of them will come back with like a fruity drink, grab a taste of it, and just toss it.
They say the one I want.
Gotcha. All right.
And then they'll like run back for a sec. It's fucking nuts, and they are
hilarious.
hammered.
It's
Listen,
hilarious.
after watching that documentary,
Go ahead, keep going.
after watching that documentary about these chimps that have warfare against each other and the
Yeah.
patrolling and just how similar they are to humans, like none of that shit surprises me. We are one step away from these creatures.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Like a quick shuffle step away,
Quick.
No, but it's amazing when you see like those human traits I mean, I guess you see them in all animals sometimes, but especially in primates.
Well,
You
again,
see
we
these
are them.
glimpses of humanity.
Yeah, I want to hang out some drunk monkeys. We don't worship the people who get wasted the most, but maybe in high school you do. The party animal is like the cool guy to have around, but you don't want to have him around all the time. Then we finally get into her transition story, and apparently I guess it happened for her at the wrong time because she said she got booted when she came out as trans. Not booted, but all of a sudden became excluded across the board. And she apparently, Joe doesn't care, was working on some crazy stuff, inventing stuff for the Navy SEALs. She was like a Navy SEAL MacGyver, from what I understand, but Joe didn't want to get into any of it.
Well, it seemed weird that like Mike Baker will come on and not say some shit, and then she comes on and is like, "Oh yeah, the Iron Man suit." And
Well, I think when you stop working for the CIA,
yeah, when you get
say
the
what
boot,
you
yeah,
want.
it's true. Yeah,
And when you're still working for the CIA, like Mike Baker,
good point.
And she kept saying, "Do you want to talk about the stuff?" It's like, yeah, we'll get to it. And they
never got to it.
It really dropped the ball. One of the interesting things they talked about was the wolf pack.
The wolf pack.
And if you're not pulling your weight, they kill you.
The wolves?
Yeah. That's very far from humans. We try to help the weakest.
I mean, depending on the scenario.
Well, socialism, any sort of socialism is like no one gets left behind. The whole idea on the whole is the opposite of like only the strong survive, we go forward. And I wonder if that's something we got to revisit.
In
next generation.
Killing off the weak. And how do you propose that happens exactly?
Sounds callous.
Like I see how that happens in a wolf pack because they're wolves and there aren't very many of them.
And they just tear it apart.
Yeah, what happens here? Like, give me an idea of how we're going to eliminate the weak.
So we got a train.
You go to Pussy
and
Island.
you put them all in the train.
Yeah.
And then you bring the train to a city, and that city has these like I don't know what you'd call them.
Can't
I guess
shoot
you could call
all,
them
though, 'cause
camps.
Bullets are expensive.
Yeah.
You see where he's going?
No,
with it? Yeah.
I'm playing it out.
I know.
I'm getting there. I'm going from Kamar to Commitler.
Yeah, good. We're on the same
Hitler
page. Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't taking long.
Yeah. Commitler.
If everything is subjective, there is no truth.
Yeah, that's a famous old saying. If everyone's beautiful, no one's beautiful.
Because she.
That's nothing new. That's not profound.
I think he had her on not for the far out theories and stuff that she had.
We know why he had
but
her on
just
to be
as
like,
a
look, I have a
demographic,
transgendered on.
He
check the
had
box.
no idea that was going to happen. He got
What?
podfathered.
He had no idea that she was going to be cuckoo for
That
Cocoa
she
Puff?
was going to be Sam Tripoli for the first hour.
Yeah.
Well, I personally, I loved it.
I loved it too, but that's not what Joe thought he was getting.
I gotta say this.
yes, and hence all the deflection.
Do you? I assume that she knew she was going to get ousted from the military. Correct? Like, am I crazy? Oh, I just want. I feel like the military is going to be the last bastion of like.
Well, yeah,
not accepting. Do you understand what I mean?
I would imagine too, if you're working on really like secretive stuff for the government, and all of a sudden, like literally overnight, you become a different person, they're going to question from a security point of view what the fuck is going on. You know what I mean?
Well, I look at it like, do you not think that they would have at least been like, listen, we already know, first of all, you're at the highest level of security clearance. We have photo and video of you dressing like a woman. We've known about this for a long time. We don't care. We just can't have you coming into the office. Like, do you think that's the sort of thing? Because again, she's at the highest level of clearance.
Before time.
Now
it's a
that
story.
it would be a totally different story.
Do you think?
I think so.
I
Yeah.
think she fucked up. Well, she didn't fuck up. Of
No,
course, being herself is what's most important.
She had no idea.
Timing wasn't on her
She
side.
had no idea that was.
And she's one of the most.
All this was gonna.
She's
happen.
one of the most decorated Navy SEAls of all time.
Crazy.
And it always comes back to that thing like, well, you're Navy SEAL. They don't like to say hero, but you're brave. Like you must be uber competent to achieve this. You have discipline. So it checks off a lot of boxes of credibility whenever we have a Navy SEAL, and then we find out they have different opinions about this, that, the other, and it's confounding. I don't think I used that word.
Do you mean that like she doesn't believe in gravity, but she was a Navy SEAL? Is that where you're conflicted?
Of course. I don't believe in gravity either. To say this is a kook, to say this person's a kook is disingenuous, right?
Kamar, is there anything?
They're pretty fucking competent.
Is there anything you were taught growing up that you still believe?
Anything I was taught?
Yeah, was there any lesson? Like, do you believe in math? Is there anything that you were taught from grade kindergarten to when you finished high school? Is there any of that you think is right? Science, physics?
No.
None of it.
It's all fucking...
No, some of it must be
written by
right.
the victors, boys.
Some of it must be right. I don't think they just made everything up.
This is what I'm getting at. But you think across the board, it's all a wash.
No, but seriously, like I'm with you, Kamar. I think there are some things that they have changed.
Whitewashed, yes, of course.
They have changed history forever.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that everything is made up.
Well, this is my question.
Unless they lied about the most basic of things, like what you are in the first place. But that seems like you're going a lot farther back than like the makings of America. You're going like, you know what I mean?
I believe water's made of carbon and oxygen. That's always been a... Is that
And
right?
So that you
are
believe?
you sure
No,
of
that's
that?
not-
Like,
that's
how
not
do
right.
you know
What
that?
is water? H2O. It's
Hydrogen.
hydrogen,
Hydrogen
and
and
oxygen.
oxygen.
Why?
There you go.
How do you know that? How do you know that any more than anything else?
Because they say they could run a car on hydrogen, which is in water, so it runs on water. It's in there. But hydrogen's highly flammable. And
What-
water
what?
doesn't light on water.
What?
And so is oxygen.
Water doesn't light on water.
Is that crazy?
Water doesn't light on
Oxygen
water?
and hydrogen are very flammable. When they get together, they make a liquid that puts out a flame.
interesting.
That's weird, man. No, I don't believe anything.
When you
You know what? I'm on board all of a
when you
sudden.
take a
That was sound.
delivery by truck, it's called a shipment. And when you take a delivery on a ship, it's called cargo.
Whoa.
What the fuck is up with that?
That's a Seinfeld bit for sure.
No, it's on some fucking weird facts thing I read.
At least you attributed to something. 1 week of every week we take in a credit card of plastic.
Yeah, it's gross.
That means we're out of
Fucking
control. right?
gross.
Or it's secretly setting us up to become plastic cyborgs.
The first thing that'll become plastic is our taint. And then it's all
with
plastic
the
from there.
plastics?
A credit card a week, they're
I
saying.
know, it's insane.
That's insane.
It's insane.
And,
Yeah, they're making us into plastic people.
you guys have known all this for a while. Since
But
we
wait,
were
what do you
fucking
care? You're
Talibans.
pro oil
I
and you don't
care
believe
a
it. Yeah,
fuck.
you don't give a shit that you're...
It's all inevitable. I'm going with the flow.
Watch, Kamar's going to start eating a credit card a
I
week.
don't like that at all. Like, just the thought of that is very disturbing.
Yeah, and they've let it happen for
Mind
50
you,
years.
how much are
Well,
you
you've
shitting?
let it
How
happen.
much are you shitting out?
None of it.
Maybe all of it.
None. It's all staying in you.
What?
Yeah,
it just
that's
absorbs
impossible. That's
into your
impossible.
body? That doesn't make any sense.
That's impossible.
That doesn't make any sense.
Oh, that's impossible.
Everything else you shit and piss out.
Okay, someone who dies.
Not everything.
Someone.
What else don't you?
Well, don't you absorb some of the nutrients? You think you just take in... everything you take in is literally just...
No, but
for
if it's of no use to you,
Mm-hmm.
you excrete it. That's like the beauty of the human body. That's another bit of magic.
But
that
they're
just
micro.
happens.
They're microplastics.
Well, we have to do autopsies on people 30 years from now and find some sort of plastic deposit on their bones of their feet or wherever it could go. If this is true, and if we do not pass it, like
Maybe
If we
this is,
do not.
Maybe this is the whole thing. Either for space travel, they need us to be more pliant because of the lack of gravity in space, or something like that. Or
they need us to be less mortal, is what they need.
yeah, well, there you go. They need us to be less mortal. Because why, Kamar? Because they're stealing our.
Loosh.
That's where I draw the line.
All right, rate it.
That
I want
was
to.
it?
I want to give
Yeah.
it. I want to give it higher because I like that we've finally gone far fetched. We're getting out there. Let's get weird. Joe did not help this at all because he was just trying to fill his box. So I give it a 3.5.
Well, because she wasn't an expert in any of those fields, Joe couldn't.
I think she was an expert.
get
He
behind
wouldn't
him.
get into
No,
it.
she was
well,
not.
what made her an expert that she had
She's
accumulated?
inventing tools that the Navy SEALs
Well, that's
use
true.
to do.
Hold on.
But they didn't
she
talk
was,
about
She was
that.
doing that, but she also was reading articles and then doing basically zero research into whether any... Because it took only Jamie to be like, False.
That's why
false. Most
that's
likely
why we
false.
have an in-house cynic. You need this balancing force. But I was balls deep into this and very disappointed with Joe not trying to go anywhere.
I love that I'm the in-house cynic.
Well, the whole system is built on guys like Matt.
And I want to see her girlfriend.
Oh, suck my dick.
And that was confusing. So is she a lesbian?
Yes.
Wait, right. Yes.
Well, isn't
I know this is where it gets really confusing. And
no, but Caitlyn Jenner also likes
has a
women,
girlfriend?
correct?
and kept her penis. No.
That I cannot attest to. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
You know that.
Big
for
old
a
hog
fact?
down there.
You know that for a fact.
I don't know anything for a fact.
I believe she said she wasn't getting the surgery. Wanted to keep the dick and balls. Best of both worlds,
And
right?
Kristin had like a German Shepherd in the studio as a comfort dog. Usually it's like a golden retriever or something. German Shepherds
In
are.
the studio?
Joe referenced the dog a couple times.
Really?
How well behaved the dog was, and how it was just laser focused on her.
Listen, I know that green room has like a $1,000 dispenser of all sorts of goods, but I'm at a green room for 3 hours. Like, what kind of life do you? You're in Austin. Go do something.
Who was in the green room for 3 hours?
Her girlfriend.
Oh.
Plus anyone who brings someone.
I bet you you watch it.
I don't care.
You're just supporting your.
I'm not. No.
Significant
If Mary
other.
Kett's on Joe Rogan and I'm supposed to sit in the green room, I'm fucking around Austin for 2 hours. I'm going to get some barbecue.
Do you think you're only in
you're
Austin for a night? Like,
Well, I don't
you'll be
care
there
either
for a
way.
while.
I don't
worry
want to
about
sit
it.
anywhere for
Yes,
3
you will.
hours.
You'll
No.
watch. I'll watch you. I'll watch both.
I
of you.
won't.
We're far fetched. Matt's now in a world where Mary gets on Joe Rogan and he's like, "Fuck this shit. I'm out of here." You could go do a float. I mean, there's stuff to do just there. You don't have to go to Austin.
You could Archer.
But
No, he doesn't let anyone use his thing. We
Let's
found
be
that out
honest.
from the skanks.
You're sitting smoking a joint, watching the screen, going, "I can't believe she's saying this. I can't believe she's not talking about this," or whatever.
No, I'm not. I give it a 2.5. That's an episode.
Oh,
If
I
you
haven't rated it.
I don't care.
I'll give it a 3.7.
Okay. Well, that's an episode. If you made it
Throwing
this
it
far,
around.
incredible. Thank you so much. Maybe you're willing to go one step further. We had 2 sponsors for this episode. There will be links in the description. Go check them out. Thank you to Clover and thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring the show. We love the shit out of you guys. We have some socials. We are on Instagram and Twitter. I don't know why. They are both at JREE Podcast. You can follow Kamar on Instagram.
At Kamar Babar.
You can follow me on Instagram at Floydy, Floyd with 5 E's. I don't post shit and I'm never on there, so I wouldn't even suggest doing it. We have a YouTube if you want to watch the show or me play GeoGuessr occasionally. It's youtube.com/JREE Podcast. There's a Reddit or subreddit. It's r/JREE Podcast. If you want to go tell us we're shit, that's the place to do it. And then, of course, the Patreon. If you want to support the show, you can do so for as little as $5 a month. For that $5, you will get the post shows. The show after the show, we shoot the shit. And we talk some non-Joe stuff. And you'll also get an episode of This Won't Age Well show where we will go back, listen to old episodes, and do what we do on the normal show. And maybe soon you'll get some extra content. But don't hold your fucking breath. That's a show. Thank you so much for listening. We love the shit out of you guys. We hope you have a great week. Enjoy your weekend. And as usual,
Keep your eyes open.